Okay, well, welcome back. It is a beautiful New Year's Day, 2025. I'm in Port Salerno, which is just south of Stewart, right on the Manatee Pocket. And I'm here with Larry Schroeder, and we're going to talk about his historic Seacraft, model number X23 and hull number 0001. So Larry, you're from Miami.
That's it, Richard. Born in Miami in Jackson Memorial Hospital.
Okay.
And basically grew up there, went to school. Carl Gables Elementary all the way up to high school. And my family were social friends of Bill Potter's mother and dad.
Okay.
Bill Sr. and Kay Potter. There were 5 Potter brothers. Bill was the oldest, and the youngest was named Larry. And he was my age, and we were good buddies.
Did he go to school with you at Carl Gables?
No, they were from Pittsburgh.
They were
family
from Pittsburgh. Okay.
On the thing. And I don't think any of them went to school in Florida. But lo and behold, Larry and I became friends, and our wives worked together in a little clothing store in Carl Gables. So we were good friends with Larry and Lynn Potter. And lo and behold, Larry and I actually were in a very early ad when Bill Potter first became involved with Seacraft, that he bought from Carla Mosley, the original designer and owner. And they were going to shoot an ad, and they grabbed Larry and I to sit in the boat, to be the people in the boat, and that was a 20-footer long, about 69 or early one of the early ones, 20-footers. And we'd run the thing around and knew what a super little boat it was. So, goodness gracious, after the Miami Boat Show in '72, the X23, which was built in '71 to introduce the 23 models to the Seacraft line. After the show, the boat sat down behind the factory in Princeton for a year or so, I guess. And I asked Larry one day when we were down there, because we would go down and pester the pigeons that roosted in the factory overheads that they didn't like, and chase those things around.
So you used to go down to the Princeton factory.
Yeah, and we were the pigeon control officers down there.
Okay.
Larry and I, with our BB gun. So anyway, he had a talk with his brother, and I said I'd be interested in buying the boat, because I'd had been in X23. Larry and I had run it when it was in the water one time. Beautiful performing boat on the thing. So lo and behold, Larry came back to me and he said, yeah, Bill will sell it on it like it is, sitting back there.
So it had been sitting out in the weather for a while.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So it was an outboard then, just like the 23 outboard. And it had a pair of 1971 1350 Mercuries on it.
Okay.
And she would run right at 50 mile an hour.
With a pair of 135s.
135s, they were called 1350s.
Okay.
Then. Years later, I found out that the 71 and 72 1150s, which is the 150, and the 1350s, the 135, had very, very high compression And actually that 1350 was probably turning out over 150 horsepower.
Okay. And that was an Evinrude?
Mercury.
Mercury. Okay.
Mercury, and when I wore those out, I put a pair of 140 Mercuries on it, and it didn't run as good as it did with the 135.
Isn't that funny?
That being the reason, and I found out years later why that 1350 was such a powerful engine.
Because of the high compression.
High compression.
Yeah.
Very high. So anyway,
So
I got the boat, and friends of mine helped me clean it up. I think we turned it over and put, smoothed out some rough spots in the bottom. But basically it was very sound on the thing. But everything was built to plywood. They built plywood decks, and console was plywood. It looked just like a production model, but it was basically just plywood.
Did you tell me that this one has 4 stringers in it instead of the usual 3?
No, this one has 3. Only the 20-footers prior to 72 or something like that, I think, had 4
I
stringers.
had the 4, okay. So you had the boat, now you got yourself a boat.
Now I got myself a boat, and lo and behold, it was just a super boat, even with those big 1350s. And in the summertime, I'd run to Bimini all the time. Other friends of mine, Kenny Ramponi, that later made the Ramponi boats, he used to run over there a lot. And guys had formulas back then, 23 formulas, which were the Aeronal bottoms.
Right.
On those things, and I think CV used that bottom, Contender used that bottom.
Those are all formula bottoms?
Those are old 23-foot formula bottoms that Don Aeronal designed.
Now you told me you had some work done on the boat by another guy in Princeton.
He was in Gould's.
Gould's, yeah.
After about 4 or 5 years, things were looking a little ragged with his plywood.
Uh-huh.
So I took the boat down to Bill Potter and said, what would it be to redo this thing and do it right? The interior, hull was fine, perfect on the thing. And he said, for me to do it would be a lot of money. And I didn't have a lot of money on that thing. So he told me, he said, you remember Willie Reed that used to build our moles? And I said, sure. He said, well, Willie has opened his own shop in Gould's. Why don't you go talk to him? So I took the boat into Willie's on the trailer, and he went, good Lord, X23. She still looks pretty good. I said, Willie, I need to do, some real serious remodeling on this thing. Maybe we can work a deal. Are you busy all the time? He says, no, I'm just getting started. I said, why don't you give me a good hourly rate, and when you don't have anything else to do, work on this boat. So he said, yeah, that's fine with me, Mr. Schroeder. And lo and behold, Willie had it about 3 years. And he was doing the things I wanted it, how I wanted it on the boat. I wanted a great big insulated icebox up on the front, underneath that front deck and the hatch in the middle.
So that insulated large box, that storage box in the front, is something you asked him to put in?
Oh yeah,
okay.
Everything that was in, I said, let's do this with it, that with it, whatever. And he worked at his own pace, but did it like he does it. And Willie knows glass. He later redesigned and retooled all the molds for Hughes, Maverick, and one other one up there that were all owned by the same company. He was a master at that. When Willie's molds, they never changed one bit. I mean, he really could build a mold. And he started making molds, and the early Seacrafts all had wooden hatches, and that was it. So he started making all kind of hatches and different products and glass.
So he redid the whole interior for you.
He redid the interior. We used a console that was a deluxe console that I liked, with a seat in front. That was on a boat down in the Keys, and the guy flipped it off the trailer and tore the boat all up, but the console was okay. So we were able to buy that console complete, ready to go on the thing. The other thing that, what was it? I wanted T-top on it. Potter sold Seacraft to some company on the West Coast in St. Pete, I think, in the early 80s.
Tracker.
No,
No, wait.
Tracker was after that.
Oh, later, okay.
That was Johnny Morris, and that was after this company over there built it.
Okay.
They had some problems with their boats delaminating for some one reason or another, the early 80s Seacraft. So you might want to note that, and that was basically what happened. But the Bobby Birdsall had just built, and he was Rybovich of T-top builders back then, and he just built one for 23 that delaminated, so they couldn't use it. So Bobby gave me a very nice buy on this beautiful T-top that's on it still. Never had a bit of problem with it. Never had a bit of problem with it. So anyway, I just really had a lot of fun with that boat.
Well, who closed up the transom?
Willie did.
Willie did. So that would have
Willie
been...
did, and because I used to fish government cuts for tarpon,
Uh-huh.
and you get a lot of, waves and stuff like that, and coming in that engine well and whatnot was kind of thrilling sometimes to know if you were going to pop back up or not.
And who put the bracket on the back?
Well, Willie put the bracket on, and for some reason we decided to use a oh golly, what's the boat's name?
Long gone?
Poplar boat manufacturer now. It was like a well on that thing, and it didn't work out at all, because that was when they came out with the 235 oven roots, and I'd repowered it with a 235 single oven root on the thing. But I can't think of the doggone bracket, but it was like a big well, but it was horrible. The wave would come fill up that well, and they had a little bitty drain in it, so you had that additional water in there that would take forever to drain out. So we got rid of that and got a stainless marine bracket that had a flotation part of it on the thing, and I had that put on by the bracket specialist in those days, a guy named Guy Radiano.
Guy Radiano?
Guy Radiano. And he was up in North Miami on that row where all the Blue Thunders and they were all dealing. And Guy installed brackets on all the race boats they had up there. Cigarettes and whatever.
Donzi?
Yeah. All of them. And Guy was just a genius at getting it right, of where the bracket should be on the transom. So, looking back, they weren't legends then, but all the guys that worked on that boat turned out to be pretty doggone well known at what they did.
Sure. So you're the original owner?
First one.
First one.
The only guy that ever owned it.
And you used to take it to Bimini nearly every weekend.
It would find its own way there, I think. But I'd come home because I had to go to work sometimes when weather would kick up. And I had no problem. When I had the single engine on it with the 235, I did have a little bracket on the bracket, and I had a 15-horse four-stroke.
A little get home.
That I'd carry on that just in case. Never had to use it.
Yeah.
Never had to use it.
But now you've got a Yamaha 300 on it.
Yep.
And
in between the old Evinrude, I had a 225 Mercury on it, XP, and that was a pretty good engine. The 235 Evinrude was a dependable motor, but boy, they burned a lot of gas, a lot of fuel on that thing. But fuel wasn't that much then.
Yeah, that's right. Not that way anymore.
You know, it wasn't anything practically. That was the least of your problems, even in Bimini, which was twice of what it was here. But I had a 110-gallon tank in it, and I could fill up in Miami and run all weekend over there and be running way up to Isaac's or over to the Gingerbreads or anywhere in those areas and still have plenty of gas to get home without having to refuel over there.
So it has a 110 gallon?
Not now.
No.
Not now. I've replaced the tank a couple of times. But I think it's probably about 75 or 80 right now.
Okay.
Of
And
what it is.
tell me about that Yamaha 300.
Well, the 75 225, and it was a carbureted engine because that 1975 was the first year they built fuel injection. And I said, no, you better give me carburetors because I'm in the Bahamas with this boat all the time. And I said, at least I can get somebody to work on it over there. They won't know anything about fuel injection.
Right.
So that's why I had that Merc. And I think about 4 or 5 years ago, I used to buy a lot of things here in Stewart from Marine Parts Connection here. And Danny there, the owner, deals a lot with the state agencies, sells them engines, but then services them on this thing. And he can get some engines in there that he knows where they've been, and he knows what's been done to them because he works on them.
Well, you told me this engine has ball bearings because what's the model on it?
We were a little nervous about putting a 4-stroke on the thing. And at my age, I didn't particularly need a brand new engine. I just needed a dependable engine on the thing. And looking all around, he said, the engine you want without the weight and dependability are the Yamaha HPDIs.
HPDI.
Which stands for high pressure direct injection or something like that.
Uh-huh.
It's a fuel injected engine. He found me a good one that had come off of one of the agency's inflatables that he knew of. He said, this is the beauty of an engine. And HPDIs around 2006 had a lot of modifications, which the factory called in and did. And this one had all that in the injectors and stuff like that. So I've had that one on it for 4 years, and she runs like a top. And that 300, really didn't need a 300. And Danny said, get the 300. if you ever sell it, they're going to want the 300. Don't go for the 200 or the 250.
Well, good.
So that's how I ended up with the 300 on it. And she'll run. It goes real good. It goes real good.
So
It's
after
a beautiful match on the thing.
good. I'm glad that worked out. So after 71, 81, 91, 01, 10, 20, after 50 something years, it's time to
Close to it.
It's time to let her go.
And that's kept me awake at night. Yeah, she's in a dandy boat. We've partied in it, fished in it, dove out of it. Just does it all.
Yeah.
And it does it well. It was super heavily laid up. And I've got emails here from Bill Potter, which talks about why they didn't use it for the mole, because this boat was actually a 21-foot Seacraft that they stretched out to 23. And then after they got it, they had to make some changes to it so it would bank instead of catching in, which might throw somebody out. And Potter was very concerned, Bill Potter was, with the safety of the boats. That's why they foamed them all. And they were all unsinkable back then when he made them. And there was a tragic story about 3 young guys that left out of Jupiter Inlet that never came back.
Yeah, 2 of them. 2
Three.
boys. It was 2 boys.
2 or 3?
No, it was 2.
Was it 2?
Yeah, my wife was their teacher
All right.
at the Jupiter Christian. Yeah, that was a sad story.
Well, anyway, they found the boat
Found the boat.
off Jacksonville upside down.
Yeah,
But they never found the boy
never found them. No.
on the thing. So it was,
So those old boats were foamed.
and that's what Bill said. And he used to copy me in a lot of emails. And I guess he and the one of the editors of the newspapers down in that area, I know there's some emails from him back and forth on that situation when those kids were lost.
Yeah.
But Bill was a very conscientious guy.
And he spent the last few years of his life in Jupiter, right on the inlet there.
He did. He and Betsy moved to Jupiter and had a lovely condo there. And then one of his sons was in Hawaii, and the other one was in Alaska. And they moved to Alaska on that thing. And the last I heard, he was still up there, and that was
Bill and Betsy.
a year. Yeah.
And did I see in there that Carl Mosley moved to Indiantown?
Yeah, I'd met Carl a couple times, but I didn't really know him.
Well, they
And
said
I wasn't in real, I was not real close friends with Carl Mosley.
Well, didn't his daughter sell some of the boats down in Key Largo?
I don't know.
I ran into a guy there at a backwoods marine shop who had 2 old Seacrafts sitting out in the back, and I started talking to him, and they said that, I think her name was Carla, she sold the boats down in Key Largo.
Yes.
So the boat was redone in 20 what?
May of 2013.
Done locally.
It was done by a fella here. Is it running?
Yep.
Done by a fella here in Fort St. Lucie by the name of Dennis Bradley. And I don't know where I met Dennis, but he turned out to be another mold maker and was making a bonefish skiff when I met him. And I needed some work done on my boat, so I left it with him one year when we went back for the summer out west. And Dennis He removed the engine and stainless marine bracket and reinstalled. He replaced the rotten transom wood with PVC board. Removed live well, relocated batteries to under console. We sealed up the live well. It never worked worth a darn on the production 23 Seacrafts, and this didn't either. We've got a pump down in the old sealed well that I've got a portable live well which comes off and on. You can take it off and on the boat. It's all hooked up, ready to go. You install bilge pump, repaired live well pump, installed access hatch, moved oil reservoir to side compartment, replaced rotten piece in front starboard hatch, he removed the carpet off the side and painted the interior. Repainted transom, repatched dings in the bottom, complete job, XXX, $1,000 deposit, balance due. L.A. Schroeder, Dennis Bradley. Dennis was just a big help around here and very reasonable. And he was from Belize, and his father was a boat builder down there, and his dad started building these 65 footers that went out and picked up tourists off of cruise ships. And Dennis has moved back to Belize and is in business with his dad down there. And I haven't heard from him for a couple of years. But the last I did, they were doing very, very well. So unfortunately, we've lost his expertise in the area. But recently I had Mike Steinberg, who's got a wonderful reputation, do all the dings in it with gel coat, and he matched the color, which was Fighting Lady Yellow, but it faded, and I learned you can't buff all grip anymore, or you can't. But Mike matched the color on it, and the boat's looking very good.
So, well, that's a very fascinating story, and it was a pleasure getting to meet you and know you. And
I think you got a wonderful log, Richard. I was first turned on to your log by a guy named Cadillac McDaniel, John McDaniel. And Cadillac was an old race boat guy from Miami. And his mother was not a Cadillac dealer, but she sold more Cadillacs than the Cadillac dealer did, Nolan Brown. Down in
Miami.
And her billboards were all plastered all over, and John McDaniel ended up with the nickname of Cadillac. And he now lives out on the way to Indiantown.
Oh, it is on the river, on the Okeechobee Waterway.
Beautiful piece of property.
Yeah, that's some beautiful land out there.
Yep.
Well, so this is the story of the boat, and if you watching, anybody's interested in this boat, I'll put my contact information down below.
I'd like to find it a good home, and it's just a dandy of a boat.
Yeah, it is.
And I've been in a lot of the 23s. This boat it's got the flare in it, and you can see right along the shear line where they cut it down some. And this thing is dry. I mean, running back and forth to the Bahamas in the old days, Kenny Ramponi would say, "You don't have any spray on your windshield." How come? Because I didn't get any. He said I had to clean my glasses 5 times coming over here today. So it's a big old heavy turkey. But it's still, when you hit a wave, it's just thump and over. It's not a bang. It doesn't echo like a boat's. And so I would like to see fellows that are interested make me an offer. Come look at the boat. It's in the water right behind the house. After certain things have proceed in whatever you want to do, surveys or whatnot. If it looks like it's going along fine with a refundable deposit or something like that, make an offer, and we'll do a sea trial and see how you like it. And I'm going to take into consideration not so much the money, but who's getting the boat on that thing and where's it going from here. Thank you very much. And thank you, Richard. Appreciate your help.
Well, it's an absolutely beautiful day here. It's nice and cool, and there's not much breeze, kind of from the north. What do you say we put the boat in and go for a ride?
We'll go for a ride. Let you get some pictures of it running.
That sounds great. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.
Bye now. There she is. You can get a picture of her floating.
What? What is it? Looks good in this light.
Cadillac